-5. They won by 10 over George Washington. So I got excited for that. And this Cleveland State game was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I had the money line for $10,000 that paid $91,000. $91,000.
Yeah.
But we had to spread it around. We had to go to different
casinos. And you admit that you could get more money on it.
I tried to get $25,000, but they wouldn't take it. So we had to, had to go around.
How much would $25,000 have paid on that bet?
Oh,
$228,000.
Yeah, $228,000. Yeah.
Wow. So.
But you know what? I can't complain, man. I really can't complain.
And then you came back on Sunday, and what'd you bet Sunday?
I had Central Florida on Sunday.
Okay, so, folks, in the weekend, he bet on the bankroll games. He had Dayton -5 over George Washington. They won by 10. And then he bet Cleveland State at both +14 and the money line, which means he didn't get the 14 points, but he got 9.12 to odds, the one. And thanks to Bobby Edwards, he took $10,000 and turned it into 90. Plus, he had $25,000 on the game +14. And on Sunday, he bet $60K on Central Florida -6.5, and they won by 9.
Well, it is 6 minutes after the hour. Welcome, Facebook Live only for right now, as we have some technical problems hooking up to our various networks, BizTalk Radio, so on and so forth. So welcome all you Facebook viewers live here. The only way to watch the show or hear the show as of right now. So we'll keep our crack engineers on that and see if we can hook up to the various stations. 6 minutes after, it is Garden America. Good morning, I'm Bryan Main, Tiger Palafox, John Bagnasco. Lines will be open, hopefully, once we connect with the studio. Until then, you can post your questions, comments right there on Facebook Live. Also, John at gardenamerica.com. Tiger, we've got the new setup here, so there should be a good, clean shot between you and John.
Now we can see John's beautiful face without a mic in front of him.
And he can't hide during the breaks either, because we're going to follow him. Hope you had a good week. It is the weekend. Noticed a little bit of rain coming in. Are we supposed to have rain in the forecast today, John?
All day.
Seriously?
All day, yeah.
Oh, boy. That changes things.
Of course, I don't know. I usually rely on Apple for my weather.
That's a terrible one.
Is it?
I don't like their weather, and I don't like their map.
You don't like their graphics, do you?
No, it's not that I don't like the graphics, but
it's really not their weather.
It's
you're pretty much stuck with the weather the way it is. But they, I'm looking at it this morning, and it says chance of rain during this time period, 100%. So I'm thinking, well, doesn't that mean it's raining? And I look outside, and it's as dry as can be.
Right. Well, no chance of rain. In other words, we guarantee you that it's going to rain.
No, but they do it by hour. So
did it rain at all on your way in?
No. I mean, a few drops.
Yeah.
A few drops, drizzles.
I heard that the chance of rain is an interesting thing in the sense of it's supposed to be, because you look at a chance of rain, it's supposed to be, you would think, 80% chance. That means 8 out of 10 it's going to rain here. And that's a pretty good chance that it's going to rain. But they were saying that it's also within that geographic area. So it's only going to be like, an 8 out of 10 in this big area. Mm-hmm. And then, so when you really think about it like that and you don't get the rain, but I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. If it's an 80% chance of rain, it should be raining.
It should rain.
Are, where
you are.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard weather reports. On the way to work during the week, and they say a chance of rain today. Talking as if it's not raining yet, and it's pouring where I am. and the worst thing, is at 3:00 in the afternoon getting that day's weather forecast.
Oh yeah.
It's 3:00. I want tonight and tomorrow. The day's gone. 3:00. So,
but not if you're in New York, though, because we were in New York one time, and we were going to go out, and it was maybe 4:00 in the afternoon. We were going to go out to dinner, so we were getting ready to go. And so we just were flipping the TV, and the news came on, and it said, hey, there's going to be a thunderstorm. And we looked outside. It was a beautiful day.
Right.
It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. We're like, come from San Diego. Yeah, or whatever, kind of a thing. At 6:00, it poured. We brought umbrellas and everything because the weather told us there was a big.
Well, they tell you
rain
when it's
coming.
going to start and when it's going to end.
Yeah.
And if there's going to be a break in between.
Well, they know because they've had a lot of experience here in San Diego doing the weather's like,
Well, what happens through the country is the weather's going from west towards the east. They can track it and see what it's
Are
doing.
you talking about the jet stream?
I don't know if it has anything to do with the jet stream.
Good meteorologist.
But,
Actually, it does.
Our
Go ahead.
water's affected, or our weather's affected by the water that we're by, and it's a little more uncertain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So we've got it coming off the ocean that messes it up a little bit, and then coming south, from the pressure areas up north throws us off. So predicting our weather is a little more uncertain, but it's also almost always the same.
The same. Highs in the mid-70s, lows tonight, 55 degrees. Right now, 72 downtown. I can't tell you how many times I've said that forecast over the year. Night and morning, low clouds and fog, otherwise mostly sunny today, and then the same thing every day. So being a weather person in San Diego is...
You just offended, there are 5 people in San Diego because they're weather people, and they're like, oh, Brian.
Oh, well,
really,
I know where you get your weather from.
How many people would go to the doctor if they were as right as often as a meteorologist?
That's true, huh? That's true. It's very good. Okay, so still waiting for the hookups to our various radio stations, our networks. Hopefully that'll happen soon. In the meantime, thank goodness for Facebook Live. All of you tuning in right now, questions, comments, you can post on Facebook Live. And, John, you're welcome to look at the camera anytime.
Well, I'm not set up to do that.
You got the new setup here so we can have a good line of sight.
You know what? We should take this opportunity, if you are on Facebook or listening on Facebook, you have any questions you want answered, now's a great time to get them answered.
Yeah,
right?
I would say of all the times, this would be the time because it is very quiet right now as we wait for the station network hookups. So again, Facebook Live, as John said, or you can email John at gardenamerica.com, and we'll answer your questions and comments. Once you do get hooked up, the guest today, Tiger, and
Robin Rivet.
Yeah, Robin's probably wondering what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. She probably hasn't gotten a phone call yet. But, the topic that we're going to be discussing is Arbor Day is coming up at the end of April. And
big celebration at our house.
Is it?
Arbor Day. Are you kidding?
So you decorate all your trees, right?
I do.
You TP them, as I recall.
TP them.
Different colors of toilet paper just stringing down from the trees.
Don't you love it, Tiger, when he's trying to say something?
Yeah. But, in a serious note, John, Arbor Day is a very important day because, across the country, across the world, it's trying to bring awareness that we need to enhance our environment by where we live by planting trees and taking care of them. And so Robin Ray is a certified arborist who's participated in a number of city programs here. One of the neatest programs that she participated in was a tree mapping system, which you can go online and you can insert the trees in your yard or your neighborhood, and you can identify them. You can put in information about how big they are, if they're healthy, if they're not. Just a bunch of info. And what that helps is it helps the city of San Diego maintain their tree canopy, which if there's unhealthy trees, it's a simple source for them to go out and say, hey, it looks like our neighbors here are saying these trees are unhealthy. They can send out the city arborist, and if there's a solution, they can fix it, or it might be time to replace them. And so the arborist goes out, makes the call, they chop it down, put in a new one. And, it's an important thing because cities are disconnected in a lot of ways, and this is a great way to
for everybody's
connect them.
benefit too.
Yeah,
that's the important thing. Absolutely.
And the other thing that she did for the Mission Hills Garden Club a while back was participated in their garden walk by putting a price on trees and what they added for value for the home. And people don't realize this, but an established tree in a yard adds a tremendous amount of value by either shading the home, which means decrease in energy usage, just overall value when people perceive the home, because if they see an established tree, they look at the home as more valuable than a home that doesn't have an existing landscape. And then also the idea that, trees produce oxygen, and so therefore the home that this tree is by is going to have much cleaner air and have a better environment all in all around it. So, it's kind of a neat little thing. So we have a lot of fun stuff to talk to her about if we can get her on the air.
As soon as we hook up. And I wish I could send apologies to the stations that can't hear us right now. But, well, John, they can't hear us. It would do no good.
Well, if they were watching Facebook, maybe you could sign an apology.
Well, I'm really good at signing. You didn't know. You didn't know.
I think I might have a tree problem at my house.
Oh,
I just discovered this a couple days ago. The oldest plant that I have in my property is back from when my wife and I were first married, and we moved into our first apartment. I was still going to Michigan State, so it was in Lansing, Michigan. And in a little 2-inch pot that sat in a glass vase was a ponytail palm, or a Bocarnia. And it was probably, about 2 to 4 inches tall, had a couple leaves that came out. So that was 45 years ago now, and I brought it with me to California, and I planted it in the ground. And now it's got they call it sometimes elephant's foot palm also.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yeah, and it's the base of it now, I could not get my arms around. And it's probably about waist high, like this big ball made out of wood. And then it has 4 branches that come up. And it had been growing and flowering the last few years quite a bit. And they are drought tolerant, so I don't think the water affects it. But I noticed today, Tiger, or a couple days ago, I noticed that in the center of the plant where the 4 branches came out, that there were some weeds growing there.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, well, dirt settled there, and some grass weeds pulled. So I pulled them out, and when I pulled them out, I saw that it was hollow. And so I'm wondering, has water been going down, and is the inside of the tree rotting out?
Rotting out, yeah, exactly, yeah.
I've never seen it before.
And this is after 45 years.
Well, yeah, but
give or take. I mean,
yeah, not all of it's been out in that area. I would say the first 10 years has been in the house.
Yeah, that's, one thing that happens with that. And then, those kind of aloes that form almost a similar trunk, and they'll grow up into a tree, and then they get this bulbous base, and,
just regular tree aloes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And they'll get that bulbous base, and every once in a while, if there's a crack or if there's an opening and then water begins, it actually hollows out the inside. But the aloe stays alive, which is funny because you probably look at your tree and you probably think it's perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that it's barely holding on, right?
Well, I did notice that the growth rate slowed down a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
We've got a question on Facebook, Tiger. Did you see that?
From
Craig?
Yeah.
At the top.
So my cotton candy tree has had no fruit for 3 years. The tree appears to be healthy and is on micro sprinklers. What is your opinion on this variety, please? Do you know cotton candy?
Yeah, it's one of those bigeneric crosses from Dave Wilson Nursery.
Oh.
It produces the sweetest amount of fruit that I'm aware of, but I don't know if that's one that does better with a pollinator. On a lot of those bigeneric crosses, they use Santa Rosa plum as a pollinator to get more fruit. But the other thing that I'm suspicious of is the micro sprinklers.
Yeah,
That's not enough, right?
Normally not. And with trees, especially if they're on drip or micro sprinklers, you have to make sure that they move as the tree grows. Because originally they're around closer to the trunk of the tree. The tree doesn't have a very big root system.
So increase the water as the tree grows?
Well, and increase the area that's being watered. So make sure that you move those micro sprinklers away from the tree.
Because the roots are spreading out.
Right. And then the thing that I would do is maybe at the end of the branches, dig down a foot or a foot and a half and see what the dirt is like that far down. Is water getting that far down? Is it moist that far down? Is it dry? If it's dry, you know that water's probably really the problem.
Okay.
But the other thing is we had such a mild winter this year that I think a lot of people
aren't going to get great production.
Aren't going to get good production from a lot of their fruit trees.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, in this, the fact that he's saying it hasn't had fruit in 3 years definitely leads me to the pollination problem, where
because last year was plenty of water.
So whenever you have a stone fruit that needs pollination, there's only a few reasons why they wouldn't produce fruit. One is because they're not getting it. And then the other thing would be just a nutrient deficiency that isn't allowing the tree to sustain fruit. But that's pretty rare because even in our soil, there's plenty of nutrients for a tree to put on some fruit. You'd have to have a pretty sterile environment for that tree to have no fruit whatsoever.
And the tree still looks good. It's alive.
It says it appears healthy.
Everything else considered, that's probably exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And then, if it's an older tree, maybe like really old tree, which it doesn't sound like cotton candy. It seems like a pretty new variety. And when I say older, I'm talking 20 years plus. Sometimes that has to do with it, but it seems like a newer tree. So I have a feeling it's either a pollination issue. The watering, it could be changed, probably be better for the tree, but you need to look at what you can pollinate that cotton candy with to be able to help you out.
One thing about not being hooked up to the various radio stations, you'll notice no commercial breaks. It's just straight through talking. So again, want to remind you, if you want to post your questions, comments, do so right there on Facebook, just like the question that we just answered. You can also email John at gardenamerica.com.
Tiger mentioned that when he's talking older varieties, he's talking like 20 years. When
20
you and I
years
talk
ago.
older varieties, we're talking like older than
50 years.
No, but no, in the sense
I know
the
what
tree
you
is
mean,
older.
exactly.
Like a 25-year-old fruit tree is a pretty old tree.
For a fruit tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
But
a redwood, that's nothing.
No, exactly. That's a sapling.
Exactly.
I did go to the Dave Wilson website to check out the cotton candy apium, and it does say it's self-fruitful. So, I guess one thing to see is the tree even flowering?
Yeah.
If it's flowering and not setting fruit, then that could be where a Santa Rosa or another pollinator would help.
Well, Craig, if you're listening...
Or it could also be that there's no bees in the area.
Do you want a picture of it, John? Would that help?
It would last longer.
Craig, if you want to send John a picture of the tree...
Now, the thing we really
What were the chill hours on it?
John at gardenamerica.com. I'm going to slip that in there.
400.
Well, that's nothing. We should have that.
Well, we should in a normal year.
Yeah, but 3 years. I'm saying, this isn't happening just this year for him. This is happening over a period of time.
Right.
Well, that's why I like the theory about the growth theory. The roots spreading out and getting...
Yeah.
And the watering habits remain the same.
Right. But if it's not flowering, it's not going to fruit no matter what you do to it.
Right.
But if it's flowering and then not setting fruit, then there's other things to look at. And water would be one of them. And then also bee pollination.
Yep. So I brought in there was a posting that you put on our Facebook, Bryan, about
Steve's carnation?
A carnation. Who is that from? Stephen
Simi Valley.
Yeah. And Bryan, you always talk about how you wonder where the carnations went, meaning you love carnation flowers.
Yeah.
And you would like to grow them. And John and I continually remind you that they are floppy, not that great of plants because they get real leggy and long.
They were good for the first 2,000 years.
But I brought in, so correct me if I'm wrong, Dianthus is a variety of carnation? Or,
yes.
It's in the family, right?
It's in the same family.
Right.
So I brought in, and this one here is called Dianthus Cut Flower Purple.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's got that really rich purple color.
Is it fragrant?
Yeah. Oh,
well,
you can't smell
it. Let me see. Maybe I can.
Yeah. So, the thing with these Dianthus is that they're beautiful, just like a carnation would be, and they give off the fragrance, but they don't get floppy and fall over like the classic.
Oh, that smells good. Did you smell anything?
No.
A little bit?
Yes, but not good.
That's beautiful. That's
and they sell other varieties of Dianthus.
That looks like it would make a great cut flower.
Right.
Those long
Yeah.
stems.
This is a little stumpy, short one. So, this one here is, just a more compact, more for their bedding plants or something.
That looks more like Sweet Williams.
Right.
The growth habit that Sweet Williams would have.
Yeah, but they still have the fragrance and they still have the flower. And so, what happens, I think, with plants is sometimes if there's a plant that we like and it doesn't grow well, they find a way to change it up and make it where we can still like it, but it does grow well. And I think that's what happened with the Dianthus. This one here, I brought in here, Bryan, also. This is the Linaria flamenco. Are you familiar with this one, John?
Yeah.
So the Linaria flamenco.
The color on that, as soon as people see it, they all go, I've got to have that.
We, at the nursery, will sell easy 5-6 flats of this a week when people see it in full bloom. Now it's funny though, because then when people don't see it in bloom,
they don't want it.
Well, they don't really.
It's a sloppy plant.
It's a very sloppy plant, right? It's all scraggly looking, growing all over the place. But the other thing that's awesome about this is it reseeds and it spreads throughout a wonderful bedding area. So it's one of those plants that you're like, oh, I love it, and nice, and then you enjoy it. And then as it matures and as you get more of them, it really fills up the area and just makes it striking.
So it does it all itself.
It does it all itself. But at the same time, they're actually, unlike alyssum, which does that white or the purple alyssum, it's a little easier to control down the road. Alyssum will pop up every location. Then Linaria will too, but you can pull them out really easily.
Now, when you say it spreads, like a ground cover?
They do grow like a ground cover, so kind of more horizontal.
Okay.
But they actually reseed. So
see how floppy this is, Brian?
Back to your floppy theory.
Yeah, but
it's just hanging over the pot.
Right. Well, that would be good to put on a fence. Let it hang down the fence.
Well, what Tiger's saying, though, is if it comes up in an area and it's really thick, then instead of flopping over like that, everything's going to be pushed together.
Right.
So then you get more upright stems, like you can see happening in the center of this.
That's nice. I like that.
But it's that orange and what would you call that? Purple? Orange, purple. I think some people call it red.
Purple, magenta.
Yeah, magenta. In yellow one.
Hey, Mr. Colorblind, using the word magenta.
I'm not colorblind.
I thought you were.
all those years we've been passing those
We've had
signs that have had writing.
I know, and I told you that I had a partial color blindness to a few pastel colors.
Oh, talking pastel.
That I can't tell.
Okay.
And I did have it corrected. I mean, I bought glasses that would correct it so I could see what colors I was missing. That's no big deal.
You're not missing anything.
I'm not missing anything.
Now, when you're out tending to your roses, do you wear rose-colored glasses?
That's the way that I like to look at the world.
Look at the world, right. Anything else going on, John? Any questions at john@gardenamerica.com. This is a real test to see if we can just talk straight through without a commercial break.
Well,
I could talk forever without stopping.
Rick challenged us here on Facebook, and I think the discussion of me saying the value of trees in a home, he had mentioned, well, oak trees can, harbor hundreds of varieties of insects, to help support the ecosystem and kind of go on from that. He was wondering if we know how many varieties of oak can be found on the West Coast.
Don't answer that. It's a trick question.
Why?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Exactly. I mean, there's
a lot of oak trees native to California,
right?
Endemic to California, and then going all the way up
Oregon
into
to Washington.
Oregon and Washington. Well, in Michigan, all the oak trees we had were deciduous oaks because it was too cold for evergreen oaks. So everything would have a big, almost the size of a maple leaf. And of course in San Diego there's no maple trees either, so Tiger probably doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Nope.
But they're all large leaves, where the evergreen oaks are much smaller. But on the West Coast you can go from deciduous oaks and evergreen oaks in San Diego and carry both those types all the way up into Washington, so you can have evergreen and deciduous oaks. So I would say the West Coast, and then maybe the East Coast from Washington D.C. south, you would have the same type of opportunity for all those oaks. And of course, all the oaks back in the southern states get covered with Spanish moss.
Yeah. So I went onto a Berkeley website, and they say they list 9 varieties of California native oaks. So that's not all the oaks; those are just the California native varieties
that are native, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's so many non-natives. There was a website one time. I don't know if you had any ever had a chance to come in contact with it or look at what they were offering, but they were offering starts of famous trees. Like they would have, and this is what reminded me.
What constitutes a famous tree?
Well, for instance, you could buy an oak tree from them, and it was started from either acorns or from cuttings that came from trees in Sherwood Forest.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So, you could have that type of tree. Or
like a redwood that came from these trees or whatever.
Yeah, or it might be a famous, I know at one time the charter oak, before it died, the one that was alive during revolutionary times, people had taken cuttings off that and tried to keep that going. So there's a lot of famous trees that...
the genetics have lived on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool.
You want to... So when I was in 6th grade in California, for our listeners that aren't on the West Coast...
we're going back, 5, 6 years?
Yeah, exactly. They send you to 6th grade camp because in California we don't get outside enough.
We
right?
went to 6th grade camp. Yeah,
I never heard of any such thing.
Yeah, they don't do that on. Really? They don't do that on the East Coast.
It's
or
a
the
huge
Midwest.
thing in 6th grade camp. It's a chance to get away for a week from your parents.
Yeah, and they send you up to the mountains.
Yep.
They teach you about trees and plants and animals.
Camp Cuyamaca and Camp Marston were the two big ones here.
Yep.
Which one did you go to?
Cuyamaca.
Cuyamaca, yeah. And you're right. You camp out and learn about all this stuff.
Yeah, and I will remember this today from that camp is that live oak. The reason why I remember it's called a live oak is because they're cup-shaped foliage, right? The leaves are kind of spiny, but they're cut-shaped. And so they said, the way you can remember this tree is that it forms a lifeboat for bugs. So
Aren't
a live
they
oak.
reverse cup-shaped, though?
Well, there are reverse, like
Yeah.
like it's like how would you say that? Glossy's on the bottom and then the soft on top. But yeah, live oak or lifeboats.
You know why they're called live oak? Really?
No.
Because they don't lose their leaves. They're evergreens. So they're alive all the time.
Whoever named that was very clever. Why don't you just call it the green all the time oak?
I think Laura's got a question on Facebook, Tiger, as the questions roll in on Facebook.
I have a large, healthy mulberry tree. What is a good fertilizer to keep it that way and keep it bearing flavorful fruit? Wow, congratulations on having space for a mulberry tree.
And
Number
if it's in that good a condition, what have you been doing so far to keep it looking like that?
Well, if it's fruiting mulberries, there are some varieties that are smaller than regular mulberries, like fruitless mulberries, which can be huge.
They're massive.
But Milorganite would be a simple thing to use.
Yeah, Milorganite, because they're the type of tree that it doesn't need a real specific fertilizer. Right. They just like to have nutrients, and they grow so fast that you just have to keep putting it on. Yeah. And because of Milorganite's the time release always there, the worst thing you could probably do is like a chemical fertilizer for it, because it would eat it up real fast, all this growth, and then it wouldn't have anything.
Then grow double its size
right.
overnight.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely Milorganite, organic fertilizer, and put it on regularly when it's growing. So that starts probably now all the way into the summer.
Yeah, I think 3 feedings during the growing season would probably be plenty.
Yeah,
for that type of tree.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Bryan, when we let's see, where were we? We were in Lake Como. And do you remember those trees outside the hotel?
Is this the first year, second year?
Second year.
Okay.
The one we went to France.
Okay.
We stayed, and there were those trees that were nothing but a bunch of branches that ended abruptly, and that was called pollarding. And they would do, and some sycamores back there. It's something really popular. And trees that grow really fast like that, they'll cut back. If a tree grows 12 feet in a year, they'll cut back 11 feet, 6 inches off when they prune the tree. So you've got these knobby branches all over the tree.
12 feet a year, that's pretty good.
It's like seaweed.
It's a pretty good clip.
Well, that's pretty fast. There's some
what
eucalyptus
bamboo
that
now,
grow 20 feet a year.
Now, what does bamboo grow? Average.
I think I've had bamboo grow 20 feet in a year.
Yeah, at least.
And once it's established, and it depends on the variety. There's so many different
Does running bamboo,
bamboo.
Grow the same as the regular bamboo that stays in one place? What is that? What's that called?
Clumping.
Clumping. Does clumping and running bamboo grow at the same rate?
Yeah, again, depending on the variety, because there's varieties of running bamboo that are giant, grow like 50, 60 feet, and also varieties of clumping bamboo.
I don't think there's any reason to grow running bamboo, is there?
Yeah.
Really? It's such a pain, though.
Feeding pandas?
Well, yeah, I know. Most of us do have pandas, you're right. So I didn't think of that.
We have...
really anger your
John
neighbor.
and I like our favorite's the black bamboo. You like the black, don't
That's
you?
pretty-
I do, but that's a running bamboo.
Yeah, but
So
there you go.
Keep it in a container.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
If you like the fact that it's black, you're going to have to deal with the running aspect of it, which means it's going to pop up everywhere.
And I had a clumping bamboo in my yard that was one of the types that pandas ate. Really large one. I ended up paying almost $1,000 to have it removed.
Wow.
I just didn't have room
Just
for it.
because, and again, I imagine, too, it's pretty tough to take out.
You really should not be a member of the American Bamboo Society if you only have half an acre. You really need more space than that. And I didn't have pandas to eat the bamboo. And I know you went to Panda Express to try to get some pandas and found out they don't even have them there.
Well, they had a panda in there, but it was the mascot dressed up, in some kind of little panda outfit, so it wasn't quite the same. So again, hey, not hooked up to our network so far, Biz Talk Radio and our Los Angeles, San Diego station. It is Facebook Live, so we are just kind of chugging along here, 35 minutes straight with no break. And if you want to ask us a question like a couple of people have so far this morning, right there on Facebook Live, you can also email John. That's John at gardenamerica.com.
Rick wants to know how difficult it is to grow Japanese maple from seed. And it's not difficult, but it's impossible to grow varieties from seed. All those varieties of Japanese maples have to be grown from cuttings or grafted. And then also Japanese maple seed need to be chilled before they'll germinate. So up in Oregon, where Rick lives, you can just plant them in the fall and let them chill during the winter, and they'll come up on their own.
I've never seen a Japanese maple flower.
Never seen a Japanese maple flower?
No.
Have you ever seen a seed?
No. I mean, since I haven't seen the flower, I don't think I've seen the seed.
This is all new to him.
Well, the seeds or the flowers are insignificant. They're those little green things. You don't usually see them on varieties.
Oh, okay.
You see them on the
original stalk.
Yeah, the Acer palmatum, which gets to be about like 15 feet tall, and those seed readily.
So is that something that would leaf out, grow, flower, or does it drop leaves and then flower, or does it do like a fruit tree where it flowers early?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. They're usually flowering around the same time that they're leafing out.
Okay. Oh, that would be cool. I've never seen that. So the regular
You've seen
palmatum,
the seeds, though, right?
No, I've never seen the seed either.
The seeds are called samaras, and they. Brian, you've probably done this. Have you ever been in an area where they've had maple seeds and you throw them up in the air and use them like propellers and they spin around?
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I haven't
seen
done it, but I've
trees
seen that.
Have had that. Yeah.
Yeah, they look like a propeller.
Sure.
Yeah, we used to, being around in Michigan, where a lot of maple trees grow, we would play with those all the time as kids. Here, not so much because they're just not available.
Yeah, my seed pod in the maple family was the liquid amber, which we used to throw at each other
those are
because
burrs.
they're spiky balls.
Yeah, that's shaped more like a mace.
Yeah, exactly. I remember we used to have a liquid amber tree at our house, and as a kid, and you'd have to, you'd walk out to take out the trash.
Yeah.
Well, most people can walk out of their house and not put shoes on. Well, there was a tree right by the trash, and when it was dropping its seed pods, you'd step on these spiky balls that are about almost an inch, kind of a thing. Yeah. And man, you would be dark and you couldn't see them, and you'd hit your foot. Oh, it was the worst. Yeah, hated those things.
Doesn't sound pleasant at all.
But I do push the liquid amber variety Rotunda loba, which is a lobed leaf, not the maple sharp edge,
right,
but it doesn't produce the seed pods like the standard liquid amber. I love that tree, but not this classic liquid amber.
Now those liquid ambers can be sprayed so they don't fruit.
Yeah, what's that? Florel,
right?
That product.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah,
getting up there to spray it.
Yeah,
I mean you can use a hose and sprayer. It's the same product that's used to stop olives from setting fruit.
I always thought that was really funny when people would plant an olive tree because they loved the olive, but they didn't like the fruit. And I'm like, you don't understand how messy they really are. And then they'd be, we can spray them. But then the Florel, you have to time it out.
Oh, yeah.
Don't
You've got to do it when they're blooming. Otherwise, forget it.
Yeah, exactly. If you miss it, now you have 1,000 olives.
I used to have a house in Alpine, and at the entrance to the driveway, which was a big driveway, there were huge olive trees everywhere. And there was permanent stains. Permanent stains on that driveway. It was terrible.
Well, with the Florel, if you don't use it at the correct rate, it can do the opposite and make the tree set more fruit.
Nice.
So you really do have to be careful with that.
So
there's a lot of trees out there that have negative aspects to their fruiting that you just don't want. And you mentioned olives, and Tiger was talking about liquid ambers, but back east more so maybe than California, it's ginkgos that people have problems with because for some reason back east there were more ginkgos grown from seed and put in the landscape than in California. In California, almost all the ginkgo trees were male clones. And the reason you wanted to, a common one would be called autumn gold. And the reason you wanted those male clones is they would never set fruit. And ginkgo fruit's edible. A lot of Asian cultures really like it, and I've tasted ginkgo nuts before, and they're really delicious. But the smell of ginkgo fruit is worse than a skunk.
Really?
Yeah, it's so bad. And a lot of cities and communities have laws against planting female ginkgos.
Are we one of them in California?
No, like I said, there aren't. I don't know if I've ever seen a female. I'm sure there are some, but I've never seen one in California.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I went to the Chelsea Flower Show that you've been there, right? Or no?
No.
Okay. At the Chelsea Flower Show, they've got a lot of different booths where people specialize in one type of plant, and you go in there. Like there'll be a booth on clematis, one on roses, and you go in and see that. But the English have so many people that just have these esoteric groups of plants that they collect, and one was ginkgos. And there was like this booth with 30 different types of ginkgos.
I think I know one.
Yeah.
They had dwarf varieties that never got taller than 2 feet. Then they had varieties that were variegated. Then they had varieties that were weeping. And then they had
that'd be pretty.
fastigiate varieties, the columnar type of ginkgos, and then
Interesting group of
a lot
people.
of different shapes. Yeah.
The Ginkgo Club.
Especially they had good. What is that? They had good memories, right?
Exactly. It's good, yeah.
You've got to eat
Ginkgo biloba.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, biloba means 2 lobes, and the ginkgo leaf is, if you think of it, Bryan, is split into 2 different parts. It's kind of a fan-shaped leaf with a split in the center. So that's 2 lobes, biloba.
How about that?
You've got to start your Latin.
My Latin lessons again.
We used to do those.
I want to see how good Tiger is. I know
Not very
Patty's
good.
got a question, right?
Well,
Tiger?
let's say Gail first.
Okay.
And she says, is it time to cut back my spirea and buddleia? Now, on the buddleia, that thing can be cut back a number of times throughout the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, now would be a decent time to cut it back because it's probably already growing out again, depending on where you're at. But the buddleia, they take a good cutback, and you probably do it a few times, maybe one right now in the early part of the season, wait till it grows, and then summer, and then even the fall you can get depending on where you're at. On the spirea, no, because the flowering.
Right. And that's a general rule of thumb with spring flowering shrubs is that you cut them back after they bloom. Because if you cut them back now, and I would say the majority of the cases, you're going to be cutting off the spring flowers. So, Gail, as soon as it's done blooming, go ahead and cut it back.
And then Patty wants to know about strawberry tree propagation. Is it possible using the fruit? Well, I think, is it like an avocado where it is possible, but you would never really want to do it?
I would say yes to that.
Well, there's no varieties that I'm aware of. Strawberry tree is Arbutus unido. Clones of the strawberry tree. It's called the strawberry tree. So you could go ahead and grow it from seed. But again, like you say with an avocado, what does come up, you're going to have no idea what the fruit will be like. And I've tasted some strawberry tree fruit is insipid. Just doesn't taste like anything.
A natal plum.
And then others kind of sweet.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Hey, just an update, too, on what's going on. Hopefully by the top of the hour, we'll be hooked up to the network, Biz Talk Radio. Our guest has been contacted. Dana contacted our guest. She's cool. If we can get her on next hour, once we get the studio coordinator from Arkansas, I think that's where they are, San Antonio, Texas, whatever. Once we get that rolling, we'll be back on the radio. But until then, just enjoy the Facebook Live chat. Hey, straight through, no commercial breaks, huh? 8:44, this commercial-free hour brought to you by Garden America.
This might be a good time for us to try the idea that I had to talk about all roses all the time.
Rose Show.
The Rose Show.
Linda has a question on, she said she planted a dwarf almond, and she wants to know how long before it should bloom and fruit. See, when did she planted it last year.
Yeah, she said last year.
I would say, assuming it's a self-fertile variety, because usually almonds, you need both a male and female.
How does that all work, John? Explain that.
I'll have Tiger explain it to you during the break, and we don't have one.
We don't have a break, so I'm going to have to wait.
But most of the dwarf almonds I'm aware of, let's see, there's All-in-One and Garden Prince, and they're both self-fruitful. So if it was one of those two, I would say you probably get flowers and fruit next year.
Yeah.
If you didn't get it this year.
Yeah, exactly.
They're pretty prolific.
Very good. Okay, that's a good answer to that question.
In Michigan, one of the most popular spring flowering plants was called the flowering almond. And it didn't set fruit. It was grown just for the flowers. It had a big pink double flower. I always wondered why they never grew those in California.
And Rick wants to know if we've ever been to the Santa Barbara Orchid Show.
That's this weekend.
Yeah. Have you gone?
Well, you know what? That's something.
I've never been, and it's always been on my bucket list.
You know what? If I went to an orchid show, though, I would have to bring a lot of money.
Yeah, right?
I would. I would get suckered into the black orchids and all these exotic-looking orchids. Absolutely. That would be my next habit. Good, bad, or indifferent.
I told you this story before that, I have kind of an obsessive compulsive personality. I hide it really well. But
I don't hide mine.
But
kidding?
I've always been afraid to get started with orchids because I know, just like you're saying, if I got started with it, there'd be no stopping.
You can't stop.
And there is no end.
No, and the orchid family is the largest family of plants in the world.
Yeah.
By far. So
could you buy enough orchids, different varieties and different types, so that you would always, throughout the year, have at least one blooming?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because mine are dormant right now. They're on the same schedule.
There's some ground orchids, platillas, the Chinese ground orchid, which are coming up now in my yard out of the ground.
That's what I need. Now,
getting ready to bloom.
Unlike the other orchids, they require soil, right?
Right. You just plant them in the ground, and you don't have to worry about them. And they're hardy into USDA Zone 6. So you can grow them up into, I think we even had them in Michigan, if I recall, planted up next to the house.
I'd like to see an orchid. I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, yeah. They do really well.
What's the word for the ones that just need a host?
The parasites?
Well, there's epiphytes.
Epiphytes, that's what I'm thinking of.
They just grow in trees.
Right, they just need a place to be.
Right. There's lithophytes, which grow on stones or rocks. And then there's terrestrial orchids. They grow in the soil or in the ground.
Epiphyte, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Tree orchids.
So anyway, back to finish my story, realizing how I need to be really careful around orchids. I was cleaning up my yard one day a couple years ago, and orchids are really tough plants. You think of them as being really tender or finicky, and they're pretty tough. And as I was cleaning up my yard and pulling out weeds and getting behind shrubs and trees that had grown out, I started finding an orchid pot here and there. And mind you, I've never collected orchids. But by the time I was finished cleaning up my yard and I pulled all the orchid pots out, I had almost 90 orchids.
90?
Yeah. And that's for somebody who doesn't collect orchids. And it's just because going to the San Diego Orchid Show every now and then with Bruce and Sharon, you'd always have to pick up a few. I think right now I have maybe 40 orchids at home. So,
do you have a favorite? Because the thing with the orchids, like you were saying, is that because there's all the varieties and different ones, it's kind of hard to have a favorite, I feel, because your favorite changes depending on the season, because you don't really like that Phalaenopsis when it's not.
The easiest one to grow is your favorite.
Yeah.
The one that gives you the least amount of problems.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Cymbidiums are, for Southern California, are probably the easiest orchids to grow. And they give you the longest show. They look really, they're undemanding. As a matter of fact, I've been putting off dividing my Cymbidiums probably for 5 years. And fortunately, during that time, most of them have died, so I don't have to do those. But the ones I have right now, I've got to divide. So if you want any, I'll be happy to give you some.
I want the soil orchids. What do you call those?
Well, Cymbidiums kind of grow in soil.
Cymbidiums. Okay.
The others are the Platillas.
He's going to ask me what happened to a plant that I've had for a long time, and is it still living? Go ahead.
You used to have a couple Cymbidiums.
I do.
Do you still have
I have
them?
one. I have one left.
It should be sending up flower spikes now.
You'd think.
Yeah. Should be alive.
One would think, right?
Yeah.
It's doing okay. Look how well this one's doing. This one, you talk about tenacious.
That's a Phalaenopsis plasticus.
Phalaenopsis plasticus, and it does really well, whether it's dark in here or whether it has the fluorescent light. It does real well. Any questions at john@gardenamerica.com. We got to pick up the energy of this show. We got to move this along here.
I was just having a good time.
Chit-chatting?
Chilling out. Yeah, talking with you guys. We talked a couple weeks ago about the
benefits you need and deserve. 800-470-4453. 800-470-4453. That's 800-470-4453.
Biz Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Vegas Never Sleeps with Stephen Maggi.
You're listening to slot expert and aerospace engineer John Friedel, known to most folks as simply Professor Slots. Well, and that's, I think, what you want. It's funny. People say, well, it's too much work. And I'm thinking, oh, no, it's always more fun to...
Okay, so the network there briefly, but it was not our show, obviously. So we are back on Facebook Live. We do apologize for whatever audio that was. And whatever came through your radio, if you were tuned in to Biz Talk Radio, 52 minutes after the hour. Thank you so much for watching us on Facebook Live this morning. At least we have an outlet to do the show when radio fails. And again, questions, comments on Facebook Live or john@gardenamerica.com. And we'll figure this out as we get to the top of the hour, which Pacific time will be 9 o'clock. Eastern time will be 12 noon.
What were you saying before?
Yeah, John, before we were so rudely interrupted by something coming down the network.
I was just looking at the picture that Craig had sent me of his cotton candy. Aprium, which we were talking about earlier. And it looks like a pretty good tree, but he is in La Jolla.
Oh.
And he's getting about 350 chill hours.
Yeah. La Jolla, yeah.
So it may be touch and go in La Jolla. He may not, in some years, get it cold enough for the tree. But again, see if it flowers. The picture that he sent me, the tree hasn't even leafed out yet. So
really?
Yeah. But I have
shady, maybe.
Well, I have some dwarf nectarines at my house that I know a lot of people's fruit trees have flowered and are starting to set fruit, but mine not even a bud yet.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think it's because of the rain. Anyway, I started to tell the story about how a couple weeks ago I had gotten that shipment of roses from France.
Oh yeah, this was the border story that you talked about.
Yeah, and the roses that I got, it was a long story, but the shipment was going to be destroyed. But then I ended up working with the Department of Agriculture, and they let me take the shipment. But it was probably in transit for close to 3 weeks from France. And that's not good for small roses after you've washed all the soil off the roots. But I have to admit that the people in France did a great job packing. They put newspaper around the roots and then moistened it and then stuck them in plastic bags. So out of the 60 to 70 that I received, there were probably 2 or 3 that were black when I opened up the box. And I think I pretty much lost those. But the rest of them I was looking at last night, and they're all leafing out. So it'll be interesting to see what these roses look like, because on many of the varieties, it's the first time they've ever been in the United States.
When they talk about plants and regional growing habits and things, when you bring something over from France, what's it like right now where they came from? Is it like us? Did you bring it from a climate similar to us?
No, it was really cold where they were from.
So what are you going to do to acclimate them, to get them to hopefully survive and do well here for us?
Absolutely nothing.
No?
No, because, well, it worked out really well. First of all, they've been in a container for almost 3 weeks, right? So they're used to more moderate temperatures rather than the cold, freezing conditions that they came out of. And then the day that I potted them up, which was, a week ago now, it rained.
Oh,
and
lucky you.
Now we've got some cool overcast weather. Had the weather been like it was in January, where we were having near 100-degree temperatures, I could easily have lost every plant. But I'm pretty happy there. The ones that are leafing out for sure are going to do well. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to keep most of them.
Did they say they were going to destroy them or put them down?
They said that they were going to destroy them.
Such a harsh word.
Yeah.
So when we were going to be talking with Robin today about the Arbor Day and some
and
tree
hopefully we'll have
planting
Robin here coming up next hour.
Next hour.
Stay with us, yes.
I brought in a few items, and I was going to get your opinion on these items, John, from a gardener nurseryman standpoint. So the first thing that I have here with me is a root guard, gopher cage. You've seen this before, right?
I have.
Yeah. So it's a wire cage that's already been prefabricated. This one here is a 1 gallon size. So this is what you would put a small plant in. They sell them in 5 gallon and 15 gallon size. It's a mesh like a chicken wire. It's painted with a green top. And the reason why you would use this is if you plant a plant that you want to protect and not allow the gophers to eat, you would plant the plant in this cage, and you would leave a little bit of the cage exposed so that way the gopher doesn't come out of the ground and go into the root area. But it would protect the core of the roots so the plant can get established and grow. Now, in a tree situation, we've been talking a lot about stone fruits and those kinds of trees. Gophers love to eat those. And a young tree that you want to keep alive, this comes in a package of 2 for $8 for the 1 gallon. I think for the 5 gallon, I think you get 1 for about $8, and then I think the 15 gallons like $15. Mm-hmm. So when you think about it, and you go out and spend $30 on a tree, and you have gophers, you would plant this in the cage to make sure you're successful in the tree. It can at least stay alive. Now the gophers will eat the outer roots sometimes,
but never enough to kill the tree. Now, is there any concern though? Because I've heard both ways that the cage would hinder the growth of the tree down the road, or would it just grow to the point where it grows out of it, but that time the tree is safe? Yeah, it depends on the kind of tree. If it was a huge shade tree, probably would just bust right through it eventually.
Right.
I think it would be a great way to start roses.
Right. Gophers love roses.
Yeah, they love roses. And I told you about the one that they killed in my yard a couple weeks ago. And the one that was the only one in the world was a sport off Chippendale. It was a climbing sport off Chippendale. Chippendale's kind of a David Austin-y looking type, old garden form to it, Floribunda. And while that, is hard enough to get, at least that's replaceable, but it had sported into a climbing version, which I was going to keep and send Budwood off to Star Roses and see if they could test it, see if it might be something they want to introduce. And I went out there with my daughter one day, and she mentioned the leaves turning brown on this giant bush that was probably about 4 to 5 feet wide, and maybe with the climbing part of it coming up about 8 to 9 feet. And the whole thing, the leaves that were on it were totally brown. And I just pulled on it, and the whole thing came right out of the ground. It was as bad as if a beaver had gone through there and just chewed it up.
And this was
not
an
a
older
single
one.
root left. The rose itself was probably about 10 years old.
Right.
Okay, we've got a break coming up here, top of the hour. We are going to hopefully hook you up with the network, Biz Talk Radio, as we come up to the top of the hour with news straight up. And again, our guest, I believe, will be with us, Robin, next hour. So stay with us, and we are coming back at 6 minutes after Facebook Live and Biz Talk Radio.
Change your state, you made a difference. You should be proud.
The NRA is challenging sections of the law in court. You're listening to USA Radio News.
Life needs to be enjoyed with family and friends, to laugh and to share. Tragically, addiction to alcohol and drugs can ruin that. Isn't it time to make a change? If drugs and alcohol is a problem in your life or someone you care about, it's time to make a change. The Watershed Addiction Treatment Programs have been offering amazing life-changing results since 1998. The Watershed Addiction Treatment Program has successfully helped over 50,000 people get their life back. The Watershed knows how to help you recover and promises to help you begin your change. Your new life can begin right now with just one simple call to 877-480-4777 or online at thewatershed.com. That's 877-480-4777 or online at thewatershed.com. We are open 24/7 and all calls are confidential and free. Call now, 877-480-4777 or online at thewatershed.com.
Australia is apparently joining Canada and Mexico in getting an exemption for new tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, following talks between President Trump and Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull.
I was very pleased the President was able to confirm that he would not have to impose tariffs on Australian steel and aluminium.
Other U.S. allies have 15 days to negotiate possible exemptions from the tariffs. U.S. military personnel in Niger, Mali, and parts of Cameroon have been added to those receiving imminent danger pay while deployed. The approval is backdated to June 7, 2017, which is months before last fall's ambush in Niger that killed 4 U.S. service personnel. Qualifying families of the slain soldiers, as well as others who were deployed in Niger, will get back pay. This is USA Radio News.
You know, when the Israelites got to the desert, they were given manna from heaven. Well, we may not have manna, but we do have new manna. In these uncertain times, become food independent with new manna's long-term storable food. Healthy, nutritious, dense meals, organic, non-GMO, taste great, and last for over 25 years. Oh, and gluten-free is available. Order now and get 20% off, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Just use promo code WAR. Call 888-597-0775, 888-597-0775, or go to newmanna.com.
A play about the scandal involving former President Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky opens in London this month. USA's Chris Barnes reports.
The political drama taking the perspectives of 5 women in the White House and using a non-speaking saxophonist to represent President Clinton. The play by Kevin Armento is called Devil with the Blue Dress, and it's named after the outfit that belonged to Lewinsky that provided the DNA evidence that countered Clinton's statement that he, quote,
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
The play coming after a Vanity Fair article by former White House intern Lewinsky, who says she's the one who suffered the post-traumatic stress, calling Clinton's actions a gross abuse of power. For USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics is finally out, and it has a strong jobs report that passes all expectations. With more on that story, here's John Clemens.
Total non-farm payroll increased by 313,000 during the month of February, leaving the nation's unemployment rate at 4.1%. Eleni Kara-George of the Bureau of Labor Statistics tells us what sectors demonstrated the largest growth.
Employment rose in construction, retail trade, professional and business services, manufacturing, financial activities, and mining.
I'm John Clemens.
For USA Radio News, I'm Wendy King.
As a small business owner, there's one word that you absolutely dread: payroll. For small businesses, it's a big burden. You may think you're saving time and money doing it yourself. But come on, are you? Timesheets, processing checks, calculating taxes, a total waste of your time. Paychex simplifies payroll processing, saving you time and money. Submit your payroll online, fax it in, or call your dedicated Paychex payroll specialist. And you're done. Learn more at trypaychex.com. Come on, do the math. The IRS dishes out 8 million penalties a year. Make one mistake and you're on the hook. On average, you're losing nearly 1 business day every month doing payroll. That's time and money you'll never get back, unless you get Paychex. More than 500,000 small businesses already do. Call 877-649-5324. Trade payroll pressure for peace of mind. Call now. 877-649 877-649-5324.
Welcome to the Garden America Radio Show, the country's most listened to gardening program. This is your chance to talk about gardening, horticulture, landscaping, in fact, anything that has to do in the world of gardening. The phone lines are open right now at 855-424-9825. That's 855-424-9825. Or send us your questions and comments. GardenAmerica.com. Now, here's Bryan, John Bagnasco, and Tiger Palafox on Biz Talk Radio and the Garden America Radio Network.
We are back on the network, Biz Talk Radio. Watched us first on Facebook. Thank you so much for your patience, so on and so forth. No problem watching the show, but now back on radio 6 minutes after. To our friends on the East Coast, good afternoon. The rest of us, good morning. This is hour number 2 of Garden America, Biz Talk Radio Network. Our guest is standing by, ready to go here in just a few moments. John, I realized last hour, amongst all the things going on, that you did not give us the quote of the week. This might be a good time for that. And I think we have another question on Facebook before we go to Robin.
Okay. Well, the quote of the week was from one of my heroes, Rachel Carson.
Thought you were going to say Beverly Nichols.
Nope. I also enjoy Beverly Nichols quotes, too, but this is from Rachel Carson. And she said, "Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. There is something infinitely healing in the repeated refrains of nature. The assurance that dawn comes after night and spring after winter." And second hours of radio show after missing first hours.
Yeah, first hours. So we are back, and we do apologize to those various networks and stations that still carry us. Hour number 2. Did you want to get to a couple of quick Facebook questions, Tiger? Then we'll go to our guest, Robin, who's ready.
There was just 2. There was one question and a comment on basically are there any staghorn ferns that tolerate cold weather? For the most part, I mean, what is cold weather is a clear thing because staghorns don't mind
below 50.
Well, yeah. No, but I mean, staghorns don't mind because they usually are kept in the shade in a tree, and usually it creates an environment that doesn't get cold, meaning the area that they are kept, they're not out exposed to frost or anything like that. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen them grown in Alpine California under trees and next to a house.
The hardiest species of staghorn fern is Platycerium bifurcatum, and that will take temperatures down to 27 degrees.
Yeah.
But Rick lives in Grants Pass, Oregon. And
Rick is learning a whole new way of gardening.
It's not going to live in Grants Pass, Oregon. But
sorry, Rick.
For a short period of time, temperatures down below freezing, like you say, Tiger, they'll pull through.
Yeah.
But they're not going to take snow or.
But what if he put it
temperatures
against his house in a sheltered patio? No.
Where the temperature's below zero. Rick
Come on,
sent us
I'm not used to below zero
He's
temperatures.
trying to help Rick in any way he can.
Rick sent us a picture a week or so ago that showed about 6 inches of snow. That's not going to be good for. I mean, it's something you could bring in and out. You know, staghorns get pretty big, though.
Yeah, they do.
But you know, if you wanted to bring it in, maybe if you had a covered porch, for the winter, where the temperatures would be cool.
Could he bring it in his house and mount it? And then take it back outside?
like a head of a deer?
Like a head of a That's exactly what I'm thinking about. Exactly. That would be funny.
Well, you could.
But then,
you know, a porch area really, an enclosed porch would probably be the best to give it the amount of light and keep the temperatures cool but not freezing.
And then Janice had mentioned that she flood irrigates her roses and trees so they don't have gophers.
I used to flood gophers. I did that a long time ago.
Yeah.
I had first experience with gophers moving from the beach inland, had a huge backyard, and all these gopher mounds. And of course, I'm thinking back then I've got several gophers, not realizing, you know, that they like to live.
One.
Well, there's one gopher. They live single, right, for the most part. So I just stuck a hose down as far as I could, turned it on as hard as I could, and all water started coming up, and here comes this gopher just kind of, you know, soaking wet, making his way out of the hole, and we had to put him down.
When I lived in Bonsall, I had the same experience, and I did that, and the gopher came out of the hole, and I had a shovel ready.
Oh gosh!
And I was thinking, I can't do this.
Okay.
But so I'm torn. I've got a gopher here, and I know what it does to plants, and yet I got a shovel. Can I really kill it?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what to do, so fortunately, I whistled for the neighbor's dog. Came over.
Way more humane.
Yeah, came over, got the gopher, took off, and that was it.
Well, I guess I should have been a little more honest. My story dealt with a shovel as well. I was trying to avoid that. But, he finally came up out of a hole, just soaking wet, looked like he was drunk.
Yeah.
And had no idea what was going on. But I guess the word I was looking for is solitary creatures. They usually live alone except when it's mating season.
Right. Like pandas, which we were talking about earlier.
Right. And when it comes to fish, betas are the same way.
Nice.
Anyway, it is 11 after the hour. Robin has waited long enough, and she's been so patient. Let's get to Robin.
Yeah, so as I had alluded to earlier in the morning, we're going to have Robin Revere. And she actually works with the city of La Mesa at the moment with their with their environmental resources department. But all throughout San Diego County, she's worked with different organizations, different groups about tree mapping, about tree life, and rehabilitating our tree canopy throughout the county. And there's a lot to consider whenever you're planting a tree, choosing the right tree, knowing where to plant it, knowing how to plant it. Robin, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for bearing with us and staying around. We're sorry for the delay. If there was anything we could have done differently, we definitely would have. But, you know, thank you very much for waiting around and joining us this morning.
Well, I'm quite used to occasional technical difficulties, and we just move forward.
Well, thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
So, Robin, tell us a little bit about yourself first, who you are, what you're doing at this moment, and, you know, what is your background when it comes to trees?
Well, I am a certified arborist with the International Society of Arboriculture, so that's an international organization. I've also been a master gardener. I believe this is my 22nd year with the University of California. And I also have a certification as a utility forester and as a tree risk assessor. So kind of across the board, but actually I'm one-trick pony. I really love all types of horticulture, landscape design, and I specialize in fruit trees.
And for years you've been working with different city and county organizations on tree canopy, which is basically where what we used to have in San Diego County and what we have now and how we can rebuild it. Because, the evolution of a city just means that there's more buildings, more roads, more parking lots. Well, those all used to be trees at one point in time, and that affects our environment. So what are some things that people need to know about that idea that every time we build something, every time we construct something, we're depleting the tree canopy?
I grew up in the northeastern United States, and I took for granted, I think, that trees were everywhere. And so if you lost a tree in metropolitan New York City, which is where I came from, you didn't seem to notice it because there were so many. And I learned later that was the most treed place in the U.S. When I finally settled in San Diego, which is about 40-some years ago, I slowly came to understand that trees here were pretty sparse. In fact, we don't have a lot of native trees. And so the more we developed our area, the more important it is to not only replace, but actually supplement what might have been here at one time, because we're creating all these impervious surfaces.
And now, along with that, this isn't just a problem for San Diego County. This is across the nation, because as cities grow, those lush green areas that you talked about, whether it's in the Midwest or North or anywhere throughout the country, they're not replacing them. They're not replacing the trees in those areas, and it's just not possible. Sometimes it's a parking lot, sometimes it's a large structure, and you can't replace all the trees that were there, but they can do their best to put trees now where they didn't have them before. So Arbor Day is coming up at the end of April. What are some tips for people to consider if they are thinking about being involved with Arbor Day, planting a tree, choosing the right tree, and then ultimately planting it? What do you have for us there?
Well, that's a good question, and I suppose a lot of it is dependent on what part of the United States you live. But I guess I would start by saying, whenever possible, because of climate changes, we really should be thinking about planting the largest mature species we can wherever we can. So that doesn't mean that every time you plant a tree inappropriately. We do want to always plant the right tree in the right place, and I think that's what arborists use with the idea that we don't want trees to get a bad name by overgrowing their spaces. On the other hand, I think there's a tendency these days for people to want little miniature trees, and that is not going to mitigate urban heat islands and climate changes.
Okay, hey Robin, before we continue on, we're about to take another break, and when we get back from the break, we'll continue talking about the proper tree selection.
Absolutely. You can email us at john@gardenamerica.com, questions, comments, also Facebook Live right there, or 855-424-9825. Garden America taking a break, coming right back.
This is Joe Lample from Growing a Greener World. With the environment in mind, I recommend Milorganite Organic Nitrogen Fertilizer for all your growing needs. From plants to people, active growth requires energy, nutrients, and a balanced diet. Nutrient-rich Milorganite feeds the soil and plants for up to 3 months. The organic nitrogen is slow release and won't burn plants even during hot, dry weather. Trust the fertilizer, proven effective for 90 years. Milorganite, for better results naturally. Visit Milorganite.com for a garden center near you.
This is an urgent health notice for all residents suffering from back, neck, knee, and wrist pain. You may qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you, but the deadline is fast approaching. Simply call the Health Alert Hotline now.
You heard right. You may qualify for a pain-relieving back, neck, knee, or wrist brace. These items may even be covered by Medicare or your private insurance. The Health Alert Hotline is your brace company. These specialized braces have been tested for pain relief. Call us toll-free right now to determine your eligibility and to learn how to use your private insurance or Medicare to minimize your out-of-pocket cost. Don't wait. If the deadline passes, you may lose your opportunity to get a pain-relieving back, neck, knee, or wrist brace at little or no cost to you.
800-306-1760. 800-306-1760. 800-306-1760. That's 800-306-1760.
Do you have an idea for an invention or new new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now. InventHelp keeps your idea confidential and explains every step of the invention process. Join the thousands of people just like you who chose InventHelp to pursue their idea. We are experienced. We are working for you. We are InventHelp. Get started with your idea. Call for free information.
Call 1-800-607-8945. That's 1-800-607-8945.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-569-3414. That's 800-569-3414. Again, 800-569-3414.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-303-3398. 800-303-3398. That's 800-303-3398. Call now. 800-303-3398.
Biz Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the Garden America Radio Show with Bryan, John, and Tiger. The phone lines are open right now at 855-424-9825. That's 855-424-9825. Or John at gardenamerica.com.
And we are back. It is hour number 2, 21 minutes after the hour. Garden America with Tiger Palafox, John Bagnasco, Bryan, Maine. A lot of great information, talking to somebody who's very qualified on this topic and a lot of other topics. Tiger, getting back to Robin.
Yeah, so before the break, we were just starting to talk about choosing the right tree that you would want to plant in your yard or somewhere for you. And Robin, you had mentioned it changes for every zone that you're in, but you had a good starting point for people. Will you continue with that?
Yes. Well, I mean, I would actually also encourage people to consider pest and disease resistance. There's a lot of foreign pests because of global trade that are affecting our trees, in fact, all of our plants, but particularly our trees because they're so long-lived. And people need to be aware of that when they're actually going out and selecting a tree. The other things to consider would be using double-duty trees. So as long as you're using water and resources, grow trees for food. There's excellent trees in most parts of the country for edible fruits and nuts, and particularly here in Southern California. I am a great lover of wildlife, and trees are excellent for attracting and protecting our wildlife. And again, you often want to choose evergreen or coniferous trees because they provide shelter during nesting season. So there's many items you can consider when you're choosing a tree, and you really want to look deep before you choose one.
You know, where was Robin about 30 years ago when I was planting trees at my house?
You learn from the mistakes.
Yeah,
John.
I only have half an acre, and I planted Bashophia, which is a tropical timber tree on one part of my property, and then right in the back I've got a cowrie tree. which is
wow,
probably about 80 feet tall now. And
well, you should have planted a cook pine. You see, that would have gotten nice and tall, but it would have stayed narrow. And you would have had the benefit of a really large tree that wouldn't take up a lot of space.
Well, see, now you tell me.
Hey,
and
Robin.
That, by the way, is a great tree. Yes.
So, speaking of that, I usually send people to, the city of San Diego has a recommended street tree list, and I'm sure most cities have recommended lists for people in their region. Are those pretty good resources for, trying to identify if I want to plant a tree, here's a list that's been researched, that's been thought out, and obviously they have some recommendations here, so start there? Or what do you think? Where should, the Master Gardeners, is that another good resource?
Well, that's a loaded question. I actually did help work on that tree list for the city of San Diego. In fact, I've helped work on a tree list for other cities. And you have to realize that the tree lists for cities, by and large, are trees that will adapt well to street conditions. Now, they're not exclusively that way. They obviously plant trees in parks where there may be more room. But in general, cities are looking for trees with a pretty narrow horizon. They don't want trees often that get too big. They don't want them too vigorous. Sometimes they get it wrong. In fact, more often than not, I think they get it wrong because, quite frankly, in my opinion, the most problems that happen with trees that trees get blamed for instance, aggressive root systems, and ones that protrude and bust up roads and sidewalks, I believe most of that, or a lot of that, is actually environmental and cultural practices rather than the species itself. But that's been a slog to encourage cities to understand that. So it's a good place to start. I would recommend, yes, for people to contact their local Master Gardener organization. I particularly like the UFEI, which is the Urban Forest Ecosystem Institute, and they have a wonderful website which is put together by Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, one of our Aggie schools, and there is a place on that website it's called Select Tree, and you can put in characteristics you're looking for, and they have a huge database, and I'd say it's much more appropriate for the bigger scheme of things for people.
Okay, I'm going to load that link onto our Facebook feed right now so that way people can go directly to that. Because, it looks like, via that site, you can select, specific characteristics, narrow, wide, low water, all of that info that, can help you really narrow down that tree selection. Now,
yeah, and it's
go ahead.
If you only put in maybe 3 or 4 characteristics at any one time, you're going to get the best results.
Yeah. And now, if people do select a tree, they're ready to plant it. Are there any tips that you have for people? Because sometimes these are going to be in areas that aren't irrigated. And, you've worked a lot with that where you're trying to rehabilitate a tree canopy throughout the city, and there's not always irrigation. So what are some tips that people can know about planting a tree?
Well, my recommendation is the opposite of what most people think, and that is to buy the smallest trees possible. And that doesn't mean the smallest mature size. That's the smallest tree specimen. People to the more resources they have, they want to start big. They want to buy the big 24-inch or 36-inch box trees, and they have a harder time getting established. And in many cases, the roots become very root bound, and they never establish properly. So, a small tree, the best trees are grown from seed and in situ. So, if I was to really say you want to plant a tree without watering it, plant an acorn. Trees managed to grow long before humans came onto the planet, and they didn't have any problem. So they didn't need supplemental irrigation. And that kind of opens up that other question about planting native trees. Is planting native trees the best? And I would answer that by saying in most parts of North America, I would say that is true. Whenever possible, you should sort of seek out your native trees. They're going to establish and grow the best. But there's 2 caveats. That is that our climates are changing, and so what is native may be losing its adaptability to where you live. And then the second problem is what happens here in Southern California, which is we don't have very many trees to start with, and so we need to expand our palette to other Mediterranean region trees.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, if we all planted native trees in San Diego, what would there be, like 3 trees to choose from?
Yeah, if that, right?
Well,
You
there's a
got
little more
Torrey
than
pines
that.
can only grow in so many places.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So-
Yeah, no, I personally hate to see sycamores planted on streets.
Oh,
They're
gosh.
riparian trees. They're not the best tree species. And there, we do have some excellent native trees. But like, for instance, I would say in terms of our street trees, there's very few that are actually very well adapted to street growth.
Right.
Because it's not native. And I get in lots of arguments with my colleagues who are conservationists and native plant devotees who would like to remove all the non-native trees in our county. And I am very much opposed to that. And I really firmly believe that we have a great palette here, and we can grow so many species, and we're not doing that. And I would love to see people plant more unusual species that are still well adapted.
Okay, take a break. Yeah, we'll come right back and wrap this up with information and anything else we need, Robin. So hang tight. And for the rest of you, well, yeah, coming right back. 855-424-9825. Also, Facebook Live questions, comments. John at gardenamerica.com. Tiger Palafox. John Bagnasco. I'm Bryan May.
Do you have insects on your roses? Do you have borers damaging your trees and shrubs due to stress or the drought? This is Tiger Palafox with Garden America Radio. Fertilome Tree and Shrub Drench is a great product that will give you season-long protection against many insects. Fertilome Tree and Shrub Drench can act as a preventer or a curative for insects that suck, chew, or bore on your plants. This may be the easiest product to use. Simply measure, mix in a bucket, and pour around the base of the tree. One application can last up to a full year. Protect your trees with Fertilome Tree and Shrub Drench. Find it at your local independent nursery or fertilome.com.
Hi, this is gardening expert Melinda Myers. Keeping the environment in mind, I recommend Milorganite slow-release nitrogen fertilizer for all your growing needs. From plants to people, active growth requires energy, nutrients, and a balanced diet. Nutrient-rich Milorganite feeds the soil and plants for up to 10 weeks. The non-burning, non-leaching formula provides a slow and consistent flow of nutrients. Trust the fertilizer, proven effective for over 90 years. Milorganite for better results. Visit Milorganite.com for a garden center near you.
What is term life insurance? It's basically a financial protection plan for your family if you pass away. It can be a hard purchase. Think about it. It's one of the few major purchases you can make that you will personally never use. But you've got to have it to protect your family. And you owe it to yourself to shop and compare to get the best possible rates. For term life insurance policies of $500,000 or more, call the Term Lifeline today.
800-957-6068. That's 800-957-6068. Remember, we specialize in term life insurance policies of $500,000 or more, and we have great rates for smokers too. So call today. 800-957-6068. 800-957-6068. That's 800-957-6068.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0473. 800-245-0473. 800-245-0473. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0473.
If you're suffering from hearing loss, stay tuned for a special offer from the makers of Listen Clear, a revolutionary hearing aid breakthrough designed by top audio engineers to fit your ear almost invisibly. Right now, you can try Listen Clear hearing aids absolutely free for 45 days. You can also qualify for free shipping and free batteries for life. Listen Clear hearing aids are so lightweight and comfortable, you can wear them all day long. They're practically invisible, too, so others won't even notice you're wearing them. And the best part is, you'll be able to hear almost everything, everywhere. So do something about your hearing loss. Call Listen Clear now to get started with your 45-day risk-free hearing aid trial. This special offer won't be available for long, so call Listen Clear now.
800-716-4650. 800-716-4650. 800-716-4650. We're here 24 hours a day to help. That's 800-716-4650.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book. Secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-935-0752 now and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you a copy of The #1 Mistakes Retirees Are Making with Their Investments Today and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-935-0752. That's 800-935-0752. Employees of J.D. Melberg Financial have the appropriate licenses for the products they offer.
Biz Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the Garden America Radio Show with Bryan, John, and Tiger. The phone lines are open right now at 855-424-9825. That's 855-424-9825. Or John at gardenamerica.com.
Right back here on Garden America, Bryan, Maine, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. Again, John at gardenamerica.com. Still taking Facebook questions, comments here. And, of course, heard live Biz Talk Radio, 855-424-9825. We are running out of time, but I do believe we have a question.
Yeah. Hey, Robin, we have a question from Rick before we wrap things up. And he asks, is there a formula for how many trees should be present per acre for urban planning? So have you guys developed anything that should kind of guide people to know how many trees we need in our areas?
Well, there are estimates. It does vary across the country. In the Northeast, you're looking up to 40% tree canopy. Here in Southern California, I would say if we could get to even 25 or 30% canopy, we would be doing great. But in terms of an individual space, again, it comes down to right tree, right place, making sure that there's adequate space for that particular tree, and planting them wherever we can. So in vacant lots, in alleys, in parking lots, in churches, every possible place we can in our urban spaces, we need the trees. Wow. And I think part of that comes into zoning and urban planning. Mm-hmm. I'm a big advocate that urban planning is not just about the buildings, but leaving a green footprint.
Yeah, exactly. You want to leave our listeners with any last tidbits of info, where to go for more information, any recommendations that you have?
Yes, I would recommend the USDA plants database. That's a great place to learn about specific trees. And I would also recommend that people understand that planting trees is not like planting tomatoes. So you don't want to dig a deep planting hole. You don't want to put amendments into that hole. You don't want to put fertilizer in at the time of planting. And you do want to mulch the surface. So those kind of are counterintuitive for a lot of typical gardeners. And I would also recommend people understand the value, real estate value of trees. And we're seeing a lot of tree loss because people think trees get too big or cumbersome, but they lose sight of the fact that sometimes up to $100,000 for one particular tree could be appraised or could be at least added the value of your property. Yeah. And this is way misunderstood by most people.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Robin. Thanks for being patient and waiting for us, and have a great weekend.
Okay. Thank you very much, and you too, and looking forward to some rain here today.
Yeah, definitely.
Robin, thank you so much.
All right. You're right. Bye-bye.
Hey, now, she had mentioned about, her advice, planting as small a tree as possible.
Yeah.
But in doing so, you better know the root system. You better know what it's going to look like a year, 5 years, 10 years from now.
Especially if you have a little condo patio.
Where you plant a ficus tree in a crack.
I think
where you let it grow keep it in a pot and let the roots grow into the ground. Watch out for that. Is that what you're saying?
You know,
Bryan?
here's the funny thing about that. So I decided, now forget the rain, okay?
Yeah.
I just decided I'm not going to water you. You know, I don't care what you know what, die. I don't, because there's no root problem. I mean, I'm about 10 feet, 8 feet from the house, so we're still okay.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to water you. Everything else gets watered around you. It's flourishing.
Well, that's
It
because
looks great.
you stopped watering it. It found a pipe and it broke it, and now it's sucking water from that pipe.
All
for
these
you.
nice,
just to let you know,
nice new leaves. It looks beautiful.
Let me know when you have that $2,000 bill for the septic or the sewer drain that it broke into.
I don't know what. Should I take it out? I don't know what to do.
Well, it's too late now. You should have asked Robin. Hey, did you notice that our good friend Deborah Lee Baldwin had joined us on Facebook?
Yes, and I like her little comments too about being pinched.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Well, Tiger mentioned that she was going to be in
How
next
cute.
week. And what exactly is going on next week?
So
I just found out about this also.
Well,
you just found out about what?
About Deborah Lee coming in. Yesterday, I think he sent an email. And
John thought it was going to be later on down the road.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, we have a fun
normal, I
week
was
planned next week.
confused.
We have an interview with a gentleman at the Garden Conservatory where they promote conservation of certain well-known gardens, so that way they stay around, kind of like what Robin mentioned as far as preserving our heritage when it comes to landscaping. But then we're also going to have Deborah Lee in studio, and she'll be talking about the upcoming succulent celebration that's going to be up there at Waterwise Gardens in Fallbrook. What is that called?
Bonsall.
It's in Bonsall,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there.
Yeah, and John will be there, and you'll be having your books, right?
Right. Bob Reedmiller and myself will be doing book signings.
Now, did you get a stamp, or are you actually going to sign each one?
I think I'll sign each one.
Attaboy.
Good job.
But yeah, Deborah will be in studio. She says she's going to make us crowns. So I'm excited because we're going to have little succulent crowns because, I'm worthy of it.
A succulent crown to wear.
Yeah.
Well, what did she mention on Facebook? What's a succulent coloring bag?
Oh, you haven't seen her new bags that she has?
No.
So she put out these, in San Diego County, we've done away with plastic bags.
Right.
So she has these reusable cloth bags. And I don't know if she meant this to occur, but when she was at events, she found just people were coloring them. They had beautiful black and white images of succulents on them, and people would just start coloring them. And they started sharing them with Deborah about how they colored them and everything. And now it's all a rave. You get your reusable bag from Deborah and you color it to whatever you feel like coloring. Yeah, it's fun.
Hey, Robin reacted already to your little joke about my ficus.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you, Robin.
Trees don't break into sewer pipes.
Unless there's already a leak in the pipe or they're broken to begin with. I feel a little better, Robin.
Yeah.
Just a little bit better, so thank you.
However, they do seek out water.
I don't want to hear your however.
So those roots are looking for water somewhere.
Yeah.
So if there is a little leak or anywhere there happens to be a source of water, they're going to head for it.
Yeah. That is true.
Still not gonna. Now we're gonna get all this rain, and it's gonna flourish even more.
If you have roots coming into your house and going into your fish.
So how far do those ficus roots spread?
Oh, forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen? Do you know what a banyan is? You've been in the tropics and seen banyan trees?
Yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
Where all the aerial roots come down and they.
Yes.
Yeah, those are. I mean, you can have one tree cover an acre.
I gotta take this.
Roots everywhere.
I gotta take this. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just
move. I told you.
Tell the association to take it out that I'm concerned about it because.
Why did they plant that there?
Why it was there.
Yeah.
It might have been there when I moved there, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. Why did you plant that here? That's
and
weird.
I'm concerned about the roots, so they could do that.
Well, if it's a ficus tree, it's definitely going to lift patios. It's close to your patio, right?
Yes, it's close. Yeah, it's close.
Sidewalk or something?
It's close right to the front door right there. There's yeah, it is.
Yeah, it'll lift. I mean, ficus roots are really,
All right.
really strong.
That's another phone call on Monday.
Yeah.
Another phone call on Monday.
Yeah, I think it's time.
It's
for
time
that
for
tree
it to go. Yeah.
You know what? The one thing I did really like that Robin had mentioned during the interview, though, was that, as we had said, if you were to really only plant native trees in San Diego, you would the Torrey pine, a sycamore.
And Torrey pine's only native to
Torrey.
To the coast.
Yeah, to La Jolla area.
Sycamores,
Sycamore, and then the California live oak. Those are native to not necessarily San Diego coastal regions, but in our mountains and everything.
Right.
So, when I don't know, maybe there's a few others, but that really restricts. And those trees, like she had mentioned, aren't the best for our urban area.
Right.
So I like it when people can go outside of the box and say, hey, let's not do those. Just because they're native doesn't mean it's right.
Right.
But let's pick some appropriate trees, whether from the Mediterranean or Australia, that will not affect our environment in a harmful way, but at the same time do the job that we want. And that's what people have to consider, because people think native, that's the only way to go. You can't go any other way. And it's like, well, let's improve our environment, but be cautious of what things will do. And I think that it's an important thing for an urban planning person to think, is that there are other options besides what is native to the region.
And Southern California wasn't covered by forests that got chopped down.
Exactly.
No, it's a arid desert.
Yeah.
Right to the ocean.
Yeah. Did you see, I don't know if you noticed, but Robin mentioned that the roots can spread 2 to 3 times the width of the tree.
Good thing this thing is straight up and not very wide.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to go sooner or later, and I think sooner's better.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Before you have problems.
Yeah.
I ended up taking out a ficus in my backyard. There used to be one just as you walk out the back patio door, and that had gone under the sidewalk and the whole patio and everything. I ended up ripping out and putting in the new patio.
I don't like the words ripping out. I do have fairly close to it. There is a tile, Mexican paver that I've got out there, and it's cracking. But it's just on the top. It's not. It's not lifted up.
It's a Mexican tile, and they crack.
They do crack.
They always crack.
They always crack. So no, it's not being lifted up yet. But only time will tell about that. So I better make that phone call on Monday. It is 45 minutes after the hour. One more segment coming up with your questions and comments on Facebook Live or John at GardenAmerica.com. You can call us also at 855-424-9825. Garden America. Happy Saturday. Happy weekend to you.
This is Joe Lample from Growing a Greener World. With the environment in mind, I recommend Milorganite Organic.
557-6095 now for your free author submission kit. Again, for your free author submission kit, call 800-557-6095. That's 800-557-6095. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. Call Page Publishing at 800-557-6095 for your free author submission kit.
Biz Talk Radio.
Welcome back to the Garden America Radio Show with Bryan, John, and Tiger. The phone lines are open right now at 855-424-9825. That's 855-424-9825. Or John at gardenamerica.com.
Right back here. It is our final segment, 51 minutes after the hour. Garden America, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox, Bryan, Maine. Live on Facebook, John at gardenamerica.com or 855-424-9825. We have a phone call, but did you have something first?
No, go for it.
Lila in Poway, California, standing by. Lila, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling. How can we help you?
Well, first of all, I was wondering if John and Bob are going to be at that succulent celebration on Friday the 23rd.
And you're talking about myself and Bob Reedmiller, not John and Bob.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, he's being funny.
It's not that funny, but it was kind of cute. Yeah, we are going to be there, Lila.
Okay, because I want you guys to sign my copy of your book.
Oh, be happy to, more than happy to. And I assume that I didn't have to point out to Tiger and Bryan that I wasn't going to be here that day, nor was Bob Reedmiller going to sit in for me.
Well,
since
now
we
wait,
were both
what day?
at
What day is that?
Saturday.
Which Saturday?
Week.
No, but I'm
23rd,
asking if you're going to be there on Friday.
I'm going to be there on Friday. Yes.
Yeah,
I
he'll
wanted
be
to
there
know
both
if you're going
days.
to be there. Yeah, okay.
Yes, we will be
Okay,
there
good.
Friday and Saturday. I don't know.
Okay,
though.
and then my tree.
Go ahead.
What? My tree question is, I was wondering about the root system and how invasive they are. I have a spot about 15 feet out from my concrete patio, and I want to plant either a Brachychiton discolor or a Tababuia heterophylla.
I think that Tababuia would probably be okay, but
Okay.
Robin had pointed out on Facebook that if you go to the UFEI tree site, that it also tells you about root damage potential from each tree, which is really handy when you're going to plant a tree. And did you have the link there on Facebook?
Yeah, I have the link on our Facebook. So if you kind of scroll through our dialogue on Facebook, there's a link to that. Both of those. She had mentioned the USDA plant database and the UFEI tree selection guide.
And then also people don't like to wait a long time, but it's really not that long. But, you know, you're going to have to add maybe an extra year or two. But Robin points out that planting small trees is better than planting large trees as far as them adapting to the situation. And I've usually found that to be true.
As far as digging a hole.
Yeah, it's also a lot easier to dig a hole for a small tree. That's a good point. And, you know, she pointed out something that I've always done, and I really don't like to argue with people about it, but she says, you know, don't put any soil amendments in the hole when you plant a tree. Just use the native soil. Want those tree roots to just stay in this little really optimum area that you've created and not go out into the neighboring surrounding area. So it saves some money there too. Not good for retailers, I guess.
Yeah,
but
that makes it.
You know what? You know what
Makes it
though?
easier.
You know when it comes down to it, when you're planting something and they tell you, you know, you don't need to amend it. And you know, it's good to use those things down the road to kind of.
You don't need to eventually amend the soil. You do need to fertilize, but what she did point out was it's important to mulch, which people don't do. So instead of spending your money on an amendment that you're going to mix into the soil, spend that money on mulch to put up on top to keep the tree roots from drying out.
Okay.
All right. Is that it?
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, look forward to seeing you soon, Lila. Take care.
Thank you much.
All right.
Man,
You too. Bye.
I assume you're talking about the 24th, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Robin, who I guess has been following us along the whole time on Facebook, pointed out that, Lila, if you're still listening, that the brachiochiton also would be fine. So both the tabebuia or the brachiochiton would be good treatment. We're running really to ship everything that week. We may have to wait a week or two. But if you as of today, if you go ahead and place an order and you want to ship the 19th, we can still do that. So go ahead and do that. Rick also wanted to know what tomatoes we were going to be watching closely this year.
Yeah.
And the ones that I'm watching are Aunt Ginny's Purple, which we've never planted before, but it's supposed to taste as good as Brandywine, if not better. And then the hollow tomato, Get Stuffed, which is a stuffing tomato.
Love that one.
There were a couple others. Oh, the Chef's Choice Orange is supposed to be an orange tomato that was an all-American selection. It's supposed to be a phenomenal producer. And Candyland Red, which is a currant-type tomato. And currant-type tomatoes are even smaller than cherry tomatoes, but the plants get to be huge. But on this one, the plant's supposed to be well-behaved. So those are 4 of the ones that I'm watching closely this year.
Okay, hey, don't forget to go to our website, gardenamerica.com, and check out the trip to England. We have a few spaces left. That is in July on our homepage, right-hand side with the itinerary and everything going on. Also, our newsletter. Want to sign up for the newsletter? You can do the same thing. Hey, that is going to do it. Thank you so much. And again, glad we got at least 1 hour today. Facebook Live, we had 2 hours. Thank you for putting up with the various technical problems. We do appreciate that. For the entire crew, Tiger Palafox, John Bagnasco, I'm Bryan May. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much. We'll do it again next weekend. Deborah Lee Baldwin is with us in studio next weekend. Till then, get growing America. Take care.